The night sky over Nevada stretched endlessly above the deep space communications array as Dr. Amanda Clark sat hunched over her workstation. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. The massive radio telescopes outside hummed quietly as they swept across the cosmos, listening for signals from distant worlds. Tonight felt different, though. Amanda had been working these night shifts for 12 years, and she knew when something unusual was happening. The first strange signal came through at 2:47 a.m. Amanda almost missed it because it looked like background noise at first glance. But her trained eye caught the pattern hidden in what seemed like random static. The signal had a mathematical structure that made her heart race. This was not natural cosmic radiation or interference from human satellites. This was artificial, created by intelligence. Amanda quickly called Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison from the nearby Space Force monitoring station. Jake arrived within minutes, still wearing his uniform from the day shift he had worked earlier. He was one of the few military personnel who understood both the technical aspects of deep space communication and the protocols for handling potential extraterrestrial contact. The two of them worked together to isolate the signal from the background noise. As they cleaned up the transmission, more patterns emerged. The signal contained mathematical sequences, coordinate systems, and what appeared to be technical specifications. But there was something else embedded in the data that made Amanda's blood run cold. Jake ran the signal through the quantum linguistics protocols that had been developed just 3 years earlier. These were experimental programs designed to decode potentially alien languages by looking for universal mathematical and physical constants. The results appeared on their screens within an hour, and both scientists stared in disbelief. The signal contained biological markers, not just any biological markers, but ones that matched human DNA patterns with frightening accuracy. The transmission included detailed information about human physiology, cellular structure, and even genetic vulnerabilities. Amanda realized they were looking at a complete biological profile of humanity itself, but this was not a message sent to Earth. The signal was clearly intended for other recipients across the galaxy. The coordinate systems pointed to star systems, dozens of light years away. The transmission was using a communication protocol that suggested multiple intended receivers. Someone was broadcasting information about humans to other civilizations scattered across space. Jake began tracing the signal's origin, while Amanda worked to decode more of the technical specifications. The source appeared to be from a location, roughly 40 light years from Earth, in a star system that human astronomers had cataloged but never studied in detail. The signal was traveling on frequencies that would require advanced technology to generate and receive. As dawn approached, more pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The biological data was accompanied by tactical assessments of human military capabilities, population distribution maps, and analyses of Earth's natural resources. The information was presented in a format that suggested intelligence sharing rather than scientific study. This was reconnaissance data being distributed through an organized network. Amanda discovered that the signal contained timestamps and reference codes that indicated this was part of a regular communication cycle. The aliens were not just studying humanity, they were actively sharing intelligence about Earth with multiple other civilizations. The formatting suggested this was routine information exchange rather than an emergency broadcast. The most disturbing revelation came when Jake successfully decoded a section that contained threat assessments. Humanity had been classified using some kind of standardized system. The designation was clear even though the language was alien. Humans were considered a potential threat that required monitoring and possible elimination. Dr. Clark printed out the initial analysis and contacted her supervisor at the National Science Foundation. But she and Jake both knew this discovery would quickly move beyond civilian science organizations. The implications were too serious for academic discussion. If aliens were sharing intelligence about humanity's weaknesses, it could only mean one thing: Someone was planning something that would require detailed knowledge of how to hurt humans. The morning shift arrived to find Amanda and Jake still working frantically to decode more of the transmission. They had discovered that the signal was just one part of a much larger communication network. Other signals were being detected on similar frequencies, all carrying the same type of structured data. The galaxy appeared to be filled with civilizations that regularly shared information about other species. By noon, military officials and government scientists had arrived at the facility. Amanda briefed them on the discovery while Jake continued monitoring for additional transmissions. The initial excitement of first contact had been replaced by a growing sense of dread. This was not the peaceful meeting between civilizations that humanity had hoped for. This was evidence that Earth was being watched, studied, and potentially targeted by unknown forces among the stars. The intercepted message would change everything for humanity. The age of isolation was ending, but not in the way anyone had expected. 3 weeks after the first intercepted message, Dr. Amanda Clark led a team of scientists and military analysts working around the clock to understand what they had discovered. The basement levels of the Nevada facility had been converted into a secure analysis center where the most brilliant minds on Earth struggled to comprehend the scope of the alien communication network. Captain Lisa Grant arrived from the Pentagon to oversee the newly formed Task Force Delta. She was a career military officer who had spent years studying theoretical alien contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared her for the reality they now faced. The intercepted signals revealed a galaxy-wide system that operated like a cosmic intelligence agency, sharing information about species deemed dangerous or problematic. Dr. Nathan Price, a xenobiologist from Harvard, joined the team to help decode the biological aspects of the alien transmissions. His expertise in comparative biology proved crucial as they began to understand how the aliens categorized different species. The classification system was brutally efficient. Species were rated based on their potential threat level, technological, advancement, and resistance to extermination. The team had managed to intercept and decode 17 different transmissions over the past 3 weeks. Each message revealed more about the galactic network that humanity had unknowingly become part of. The aliens used a standardized format for sharing intelligence about younger civilizations. The reports included detailed assessments of military capabilities, social structures, psychological profiles, and biological vulnerabilities. What terrified the human analysts most was the historical data embedded in many transmissions. The aliens had been using this system for thousands of years to coordinate the elimination of species that might eventually challenge established galactic powers. Dr. Price discovered references to 43 different civilizations that had been systematically destroyed using intelligence gathered through this network. The aliens called it the Coordination Protocol. Advanced civilizations would share detailed information about emerging species, allowing them to plan efficient elimination campaigns before younger races could develop into serious threats. The system had apparently worked flawlessly for millennia, keeping the galaxy under the control of a small number of dominant powers. Humanity had been under observation for much longer than anyone had imagined. Some of the decoded messages contained references to human activity dating back over 200 years. The aliens had been watching Earth since the Industrial Revolution, carefully documenting human technological progress and social development. They had detailed files on major historical events, military conflicts, and even individual world leaders. Captain Grant realized that the aliens possessed intelligence that could devastate human civilization if used properly. They knew the locations of major population centers, military installations, and critical infrastructure. They had psychological profiles of government leaders and detailed analyses of how humans responded to different types of threats. The enemy knew humanity better than humanity knew itself. But Dr. Clark began to notice something encouraging in the data. The alien intelligence appeared to be outdated in several key areas. Their assessments of human technology seemed to be based on capabilities, from decades earlier. The aliens had apparently missed some of the most recent advances in human science and engineering. Their surveillance methods, while comprehensive, were not keeping pace with the rapid rate of human technological development. Jake Morrison had been promoted to major and now headed the team responsible for understanding the technical aspects of the alien communication system. His analysis revealed that the network operated on principles that were far more advanced than human technology, but also more rigid and predictable. The aliens used standardized protocols that had apparently remained unchanged for thousands of years. The breakthrough came when Dr. Price discovered a pattern in how the aliens assessed threat levels. They focused heavily on military technology and industrial capacity, but seemed to place little value on human creativity and adaptability. The alien reports consistently underestimated humanity's ability to innovate under pressure or develop unconventional solutions to problems. Major Morrison realized that the alien communication network might be vulnerable to human ingenuity. The I system was designed to share information efficiently between civilizations that thought in similar ways, but humans approached problems differently than the established galactic powers. Where aliens relied on proven methods and standardized solutions, humans excelled at improvisation and rapid adaptation. Captain Grant began developing plans based on this insight. If the aliens were sharing outdated intelligence about human capabilities, it might be possible to use their own communication network against them. The challenge would be accessing the system without alerting the alien civilizations to humanity's awareness of their activities. The team also discovered that the alien network included early warning systems designed to alert member civilizations when a monitored species showed signs of advancing beyond acceptable threat levels. Humanity was already approaching several of these warning thresholds. Recent developments in quantum computing, fusion energy, and artificial intelligence had apparently triggered increased alien attention. Dr. Clark found evidence that a formal assessment of humanity's threat level was scheduled to occur within the next 2 years. This assessment would determine whether Earth would be left alone for continued observation or whether active elimination protocols would be initiated. The historical data suggested that very few species survived these formal assessments. The pressure was mounting for humanity to find a way to defend itself before the aliens decided that Earth had become too dangerous to ignore. But the intercepted communications had also provided humanity with unprecedented intelligence about alien capabilities, weaknesses, and methods of operation. For the first time in galactic history, a monitored species knew it was being watched and understood the system being used against it. Task Force Delta realized they were facing a race against time. They needed to find a way to use humanity's knowledge of the alien network to level the playing field before the galactic powers decided that Earth needed to be eliminated. The survival of human civilization now depended on outsmarting civilizations that had been perfecting these methods for thousands of years. The emergency session convened in an underground facility beneath the Pentagon at 0400 hours on a Tuesday morning in October. Captain Lisa Grant stood before a room filled with world leaders, military commanders, and scientists who had been secretly briefed about the alien threat. The decoded message she was about to share would change the course of human history forever. Dr. Amanda Clark had worked for 72 straight hours to decode the latest transmission intercepted by the Nevada facility. The message was longer and more detailed than any previous communication they had captured. It contained formal documentation of a decision that had been made by 6 different alien civilizations scattered across the galaxy. Protocol Terminus had been approved for implementation against Earth. The vote was unanimous among the member species of what the aliens called the Stability Council. Humanity had been designated as a Category 7 threat that required immediate elimination before Earth's technological advancement could progress any further. Major Jake Morrison presented the tactical analysis of the alien elimination plan. The decoded information revealed that a combined fleet from the 6 civilizations would arrive in Earth's solar system in exactly 18 months. The aliens expected the campaign to last no more than 6 weeks based on their assessment of human defensive capabilities. The alien plan was methodical and efficient. They would begin by destroying Earth's satellites and space-based infrastructure to blind human observation systems. Next, they would target major population centers with biological weapons specifically designed to exploit human genetic vulnerabilities. Finally, ground forces would eliminate any remaining resistance and claim Earth's resources for redistribution among the coalition members. Dr. Nathan Price had analyzed the biological weapons data, and his findings were terrifying. The aliens had developed pathogens that could target specific human genetic markers. These weapons could kill selectively based on age, gender, or ethnic background. The aliens planned to preserve certain human populations for study while eliminating others entirely. Major Rick Coleman from the Joint Chiefs of Staff was tasked with organizing Earth's defense. But the scale of the challenge seemed impossible. Humanity had never fought a coordinated interstellar war. Earth's military forces were designed for conflicts between human nations, not battles against technologically superior alien civilizations. Maria Santos, the newly appointed International Defense Coordinator, faced the political challenge of uniting Earth's governments under a single command structure. Many world leaders struggled to accept the reality of the alien threat. Others wanted to attempt diplomatic contact before assuming hostile intent. The debates consumed precious weeks while the alien fleet continued its journey toward Earth. The intercepted communications revealed crucial intelligence about alien assumptions and expectations. The Stability Council believed that humanity would surrender quickly when faced with overwhelming technological superiority. Their historical data suggested that younger civilizations typically collapsed within days of first contact with advanced alien forces. But the aliens had made several critical errors in their intelligence assessment of humanity. Their surveillance data was incomplete and outdated in key areas. They had observed human conflicts but misunderstood human psychology. The aliens expected humans to behave like the other species they had encountered, following predictable patterns of submission when faced with superior force. Dr. Clark discovered that the alien assessment was based primarily on observations of human military capabilities from the early 2000s. They had detailed information about conventional weapons and nuclear technology, but seemed unaware of recent breakthroughs in quantum physics, nanotechnology, and artificial intelligence that had occurred in the past decade. The aliens also appeared to underestimate human emotional responses to existential threats. Their psychological profiles suggested they expected widespread panic and social collapse when the invasion began. They had no experience with species that became more determined and creative when facing extinction. Major Morrison realized that humanity's greatest advantage might be the aliens' overconfidence. The Stability Council had used the same elimination methods for thousands of years with perfect success. They saw no reason to modify their approach for humans. This rigid thinking could be exploited if humanity could develop unexpected defensive strategies. The team began working on plans that would take advantage of the aliens' assumptions about human behavior. Instead of trying to match alien technology, directly they would focus on tactics and weapons that fell outside the aliens' experience and expectations. Captain Grant established a network of secret research facilities around the world, where humanity's best scientists and engineers worked to develop unconventional defense systems. The projects were compartmentalized and hidden from normal oversight to prevent panic and maintain operational security. The psychological pressure on the team was enormous. They were working to save not just their own civilization, but the entire future of human development. Failure would mean the permanent extinction of humanity and the loss of everything humans had ever created or dreamed of achieving. But there was also a sense of purpose that drove them beyond normal human limits. They were fighting for something that the aliens had apparently lost during their rise to galactic dominance. They were fighting for the right to grow, explore, and make mistakes without being eliminated by civilizations that had decided the galaxy was safer without younger species competing for resources and territory. Dr. Price began studying the historical records of species that had been eliminated by the Stability Council. He was looking for patterns that might reveal weaknesses in the alien system. Most species had followed predictable responses when faced with elimination protocols, but a few had managed to inflict unexpected damage on alien forces before being destroyed. The countdown to invasion had begun, but humanity was no longer passive prey waiting for slaughter. For the first time in galactic history, a targeted species knew exactly what was coming and had time to prepare. The question was whether 18 months would be enough time for humanity to develop defenses against civilizations that had perfected the art of extinction over thousands of years. Engineer Beth Turner stared at the holographic display showing Earth's defense grid as it existed only in computer simulations. 6 months remained before the alien fleet would arrive, and humanity was racing to build weapons that had never existed before. Beth led the Unconventional Weapons Development Program, a project that brought together the most creative minds from across the globe to design defenses that would surprise civilizations with thousands of years of military experience. The underground research facility in Colorado had become the center of humanity's most desperate gamble. Traditional military thinking had been abandoned in favor of approaches that seemed almost insane to conventional strategists. Beth's team was developing weapons based on human creativity rather than raw technological power. If they could not match alien technology, they would create solutions that aliens could not predict or counter. Professor Alan Wright worked in a separate section of the facility, focusing on the alien communication network itself. His background in chaos mathematics and complex systems theory had led to a startling discovery. The alien network that had seemed so advanced and sophisticated actually had fundamental vulnerabilities that stemmed from its very perfection. The aliens had created a communications system based on absolute order and predictability. Every message followed standardized formats that had remained unchanged for thousands of years. The network operated on principles of mathematical harmony that were beautiful in their elegance, but also rigidly inflexible. Alan realized that human mathematics included concepts that were completely foreign to the alien mindset. Chaos theory, quantum uncertainty, and nonlinear dynamics were mathematical tools that humans had developed to understand systems that could not be controlled or predicted. The aliens had apparently never encountered these concepts because their civilization had evolved to eliminate chaos rather than harness it. Working with Dr. Amanda Clark and Major Jake Morrison, Alan began developing methods to inject chaotic elements into the alien communication network. They could not break the alien encryption directly, but they could introduce uncertainty and confusion that would disrupt the flow of accurate information between enemy civilizations. The plan was audacious and dangerous. They would feed false information into the alien network that would make human defensive capabilities appear even weaker than the aliens already believed. But they would do it in ways that exploited chaos mathematics to create unpredictable results throughout the entire alien information system. Meanwhile, Commander Steve Parker was testing humanity's first faster-than-light spacecraft in a hidden facility orbiting the moon. The ships were built using hybrid technology that combined human engineering with principles reverse-engineered from the intercepted alien communications. They were smaller and less powerful than alien vessels, but they incorporated design elements that no alien engineer had ever considered. Human spacecraft were built to be expendable and adaptable rather than durable and standardized. They could be modified rapidly in the field and used in ways that their original designers had never intended. This approach was the opposite of alien engineering philosophy, which emphasized perfection and predictability over flexibility. Beth Turner's weapons development program was producing results that amazed even her own team. They had created quantum mines that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, making them impossible to detect using conventional alien sensors. They had developed swarm drones that used artificial intelligence to adapt their behavior patterns faster than alien targeting systems could compensate. The most innovative development was a class of weapons that used human emotional responses as targeting mechanisms. Aliens apparently had difficulty understanding or predicting emotional behavior, viewing it as inefficient and irrational. Human weapons that incorporated unpredictable emotional elements would be nearly impossible for alien tactical computers to counter effectively. Dr. Nathan Price had been working on biological countermeasures to the alien pathogens that were intended to eliminate humanity. His team had developed treatments that could protect human populations from the genetic targeting systems used in alien biological weapons. But more importantly, they had created biological agents that could affect alien physiology in ways that alien medical systems were not designed to handle. The psychological aspect of the defense program was led by Dr. Sarah Kim, who specialized in understanding how different species approached problem-solving. Her analysis of the intercepted alien communications revealed that the enemy civilizations thought in very similar ways despite their different evolutionary origins. They all valued efficiency, predictability, and control above all other considerations. Humans represented something completely different in the galaxy. Human thinking incorporated elements of irrationality, creativity, and emotional decision-making that aliens found incomprehensible. This cognitive difference could be turned into a strategic advantage if humanity could develop tactics that exploited alien blind spots in understanding human behavior. Captain Lisa Grant coordinated the integration of all these different research programs into a unified defense strategy. The plan that emerged was unlike anything in military history. Instead of trying to defeat the aliens through superior force, humanity would confuse, misdirect, and psychologically overwhelm enemy forces using methods that fell completely outside alien experience. The key insight was that the aliens expected humans to behave like rational actors following predictable patterns. Every successful elimination campaign in galactic history had followed the same basic sequence. Younger species would either surrender immediately or mount conventional defenses that could be easily overcome using proven alien tactics. But humanity would do neither. They would fight using methods that appeared irrational and chaotic to alien observers. They would sacrifice efficiency for unpredictability and accept losses that seemed strategically meaningless in order to achieve psychological effects that aliens could not calculate or counter. Major Rick Coleman had been training military units around the world in these new tactical approaches. Soldiers were learning to think like artists and engineers rather than traditional warriors. They were practicing maneuvers that made no sense from conventional military perspectives, but would be impossible for alien tactical computers to predict or prepare for. The countdown continued, but humanity was no longer the helpless prey that aliens expected to find when their elimination fleet arrived. Earth was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history, a planet defended by weapons and tactics that existed nowhere else in the known universe. The question remained whether human ingenuity would be enough to overcome the technological advantages of civilizations that had been perfecting warfare for thousands of years. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly 18 months after Protocol Terminus had been approved. 6 massive ships representing the most advanced military technology in the galaxy began their approach toward what they expected would be an easy conquest. Admiral Zenth of the Hegemony Coalition had commanded 17 previous elimination campaigns and had never encountered significant resistance from younger species. Captain Diana Brooks watched the alien approach from the command center of humanity's primary space defense platform. Hidden throughout the solar system, human forces waited in positions that would have seemed strategically meaningless to conventional military thinking. The defense plan relied on chaos and unpredictability rather than firepower, and Diana felt the weight of humanity's survival resting on tactics that had never been tested in actual combat. The aliens began their attack exactly as the intercepted communications had predicted. They targeted Earth's satellites and space infrastructure first, expecting to blind human observation systems before beginning the main assault. But the satellites they destroyed were decoys, hastily constructed replicas that contained surprises, designed by Beth Turner's weapons development team. When the alien weapons struck the fake satellites, they triggered quantum cascade reactions that sent waves of chaotic energy throughout the local space environment. The aliens had never encountered technology that used destruction as a delivery mechanism for secondary effects. Their tactical computers could not process weapons that became more dangerous when they were successfully destroyed. Professor Alan Wright's infiltration of the alien communication network began to show results as the enemy fleet struggled to coordinate their attacks. False information and chaotic data streams were disrupting the flow of tactical intelligence between the alien ships. For the first time in their military history, the coalition forces found themselves operating with unreliable information about their target. General Kevin Hayes coordinated the ground-based quantum artillery that represented humanity's most powerful conventional weapons. But these guns were not aimed at the alien ships directly. Instead, they were creating localized distortions in space-time that interfered with alien navigation and targeting systems. The weapons were designed to confuse rather than destroy, turning the aliens' technological advantages against them. The first major surprise came when the aliens attempted to deploy their biological weapons against Earth's population centers. Dr. Nathan Price's countermeasures activated automatically, neutralizing the alien pathogens before they could take effect. But the human biological agents that Price had developed began affecting the alien ships in ways that their medical systems could not understand or treat. Commander Steve Parker led the first wave of human spacecraft in an attack that defied every principle of space combat that the aliens understood. Instead of engaging the enemy ships directly, the human vessels deployed swarm drones that behaved like living organisms rather than mechanical weapons. The drones used artificial intelligence to adapt their attack patterns faster than alien defense systems could respond. Admiral Zenth found himself facing something completely outside his experience. The human defenders were not following any recognizable tactical doctrine. They were sacrificing strategic advantages for psychological effects and accepting losses that seemed pointless from a military perspective. The alien commander could not predict human actions because human tactics were based on principles that alien military science had never encountered. The turning point came when Dr. Amanda Clark's team successfully hijacked the alien communication network and began broadcasting modified signals back to the approaching fleet. The messages contained the same technical formats as legitimate alien communications, but they carried information that created confusion and doubt among the enemy commanders. The psychological warfare program, led by Dr. Sarah Kim, had prepared messages specifically designed to exploit alien cognitive blind spots. The broadcasts suggested that humanity had developed weapons and capabilities that were actually impossible, but the descriptions were crafted to seem plausible to alien minds that could not distinguish between human creativity and actual technological achievement. The alien fleet began experiencing coordination failures as individual ship commanders received conflicting orders and contradictory intelligence reports. Their communication system, which had operated flawlessly for thousands of years, was now spreading uncertainty and chaos throughout their forces instead of reliable tactical information. Major Jake Morrison monitored the alien response patterns and realized that the enemy was experiencing something unprecedented in their military history. They were encountering an opponent that fought using emotional and irrational decision-making processes that their tactical computers could not simulate or predict. Captain Diana Brooks ordered the activation of humanity's most unconventional weapon, a system that used quantum entanglement to create weapons that existed in multiple locations simultaneously. The aliens found themselves under attack from directions that should have been physically impossible, facing weapons that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics that governed their understanding of warfare. The alien biological weapons that were supposed to eliminate human resistance had been turned against their creators. Dr. Price's modifications caused the pathogens to affect alien crew members in ways that their medical technology could not treat. The enemy ships began experiencing system failures as their personnel succumbed to diseases that should not have been able to affect their physiology. Admiral Zenth realized that his elimination fleet was facing defeat for the first time in Coalition history. The humans were not just resisting, they were actively winning against forces that should have been able to crush them effortlessly. The younger species was demonstrating capabilities that challenged everything the galactic powers believed about technological development and military strategy. The most shocking moment came when humanity began broadcasting on frequencies that reached beyond the solar system. Dr. Clark's team was sending modified versions of the original alien elimination signals back through the galactic communication network. But these new messages carried a very different warning about the threat that Earth actually represented. Broadcasts described humanity not as a Category 7 threat requiring elimination, but as a Category 9 threat that could challenge the entire galactic order. The messages warned other civilizations that humans possessed something that the advanced species had lost during their rise to power: the ability to fight for principles beyond survival and to sacrifice everything for ideas that could not be measured or calculated. As the alien fleet retreated in defeat, humanity realized that their victory had changed more than just Earth's fate. They had proven that intelligence without compassion led to weakness, while the combination of both created strength that could reshape the galaxy itself. 6 months after the alien fleet retreated from Earth's solar system, Admiral Nicole Foster stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar exploration vessel as it prepared to enter faster-than-light travel. The ship carried copies of the alien database that Professor Alan Wright had extracted from the Galactic Communication Network, along with detailed information about dozens of civilizations that were scheduled for elimination by the Stability Council. Dr. Amanda Clark had been promoted to head the newly formed Galactic Communications Division, and her team had spent months analyzing the complete structure of the alien information network. What they discovered was a galaxy where advanced civilizations had created a system of control based on fear and elimination rather than cooperation and growth. Hundreds of younger species lived under constant threat of extinction if they developed beyond acceptable limits. The decision to go on the offensive had been controversial among Earth's leaders. Some argued that humanity should focus on defending Earth and avoid provoking further alien attention. But Captain Diana Brooks and others believed that survival required changing the fundamental structure of galactic politics rather than simply hiding from it. The first species that humanity contacted were the Keth, a civilization that had been marked for elimination because their development of quantum computing had exceeded the limits set by the Stability Council. Admiral Foster's ship arrived in the Keth home system just 3 weeks before the scheduled elimination fleet was due to attack their worlds. The Keth had no idea that they were being targeted for destruction, like humanity before the intercepted signals. They believed they were alone in the galaxy and that their technological advancement was a purely internal matter. The arrival of human ships carrying warnings about the impending attack saved billions of Keth lives and provided humanity with its first galactic ally. Commander Steve Parker led the joint human-Keth defense when the alien elimination fleet arrived. The tactics that had worked against the forces attacking Earth proved equally effective against the ships sent to destroy the Keth worlds. The alien commanders found themselves facing the same chaotic and unpredictable resistance that had defeated their forces at Earth. But more importantly, the Keth brought their own technological innovations to the partnership with humanity. Their quantum computing systems could process the chaotic mathematics that Professor Wright had used to disrupt alien communications networks. Combined with human creativity, Keth technology created information warfare capabilities that could completely overwhelm the rigid alien communication protocols. Dr. Nathan Price established medical exchange programs with species that had survived previous elimination attempts. Many civilizations had developed biological defenses against alien weapons, but they had never shared this information because they did not know other species were facing the same threats. Humanity became the first species to actively coordinate resistance efforts across multiple star systems. The breakthrough in galactic resistance came when Dr. Sarah Kim developed psychological profiles of the dominant alien civilizations that controlled the Stability Council. Her analysis revealed that these species had become so focused on maintaining control that they had lost the ability to adapt to new situations or unexpected challenges. The advanced aliens had eliminated every species that thought differently from themselves, creating a galaxy where conformity and predictability were the only acceptable behaviors. They had unknowingly created the conditions for their own defeat by ensuring that no new ideas or approaches could emerge to challenge their methods. Engineer Beth Turner worked with alien defectors who had grown tired of the elimination protocols used by their governments. These individuals provided technical specifications for alien weapons and defensive systems, allowing humanity to develop countermeasures that could protect other threatened species. Major Rick Coleman established training programs where humans taught resistance tactics to representatives from dozens of different civilizations. The techniques that had saved Earth were adapted for species with different physiologies and technological capabilities, creating a network of worlds that could defend themselves against elimination campaigns. The political impact of humanity's actions spread throughout the galaxy as news of successful resistance efforts reached civilizations that had lived in fear for thousands of years. Species that had deliberately limited their own development to avoid alien attention began openly pursuing advanced technology for the first time in generations. Admiral Foster's fleet grew as more species contributed ships and personnel to what became known as the Liberation Coalition. Human vessels served as command centers for joint operations because human commanders had proven most effective at coordinating the chaotic tactics that could overwhelm alien forces. The Stability Council found itself facing something it had never encountered in galactic history: organized resistance from multiple species that shared information and coordinated their defenses. The elimination protocols that had worked perfectly for thousands of years became liabilities as target species began fighting back using methods that alien tactical computers could not process. Dr. Clark's communication networks allowed resistance forces to share intelligence and coordinate attacks across distances that had previously made cooperation impossible. The galaxy began to experience its first truly interstellar war, but this time the advanced civilizations found themselves outnumbered and outmaneuvered by opponents who refused to fight according to established rules. The final collapse of the alien control system came when entire member civilizations of the Stability Council began defecting to join the Liberation Coalition. Many alien species had grown tired of the endless elimination campaigns and the rigid social controls that their governments used to maintain power. Professor Wright discovered that the alien communication network had become humanity's greatest strategic asset. The same system that had been designed to coordinate the elimination of younger species was now being used to organize resistance efforts and share defensive technologies across the galaxy. The war ended not with a great battle, but with the gradual dissolution of the political structures that had maintained alien dominance for millennia. Faced with opponents who could not be defeated using traditional methods, the remaining members of the Stability Council were forced to negotiate rather than continue fighting. The new galactic order that emerged was based on principles that humanity had introduced: cooperation between different species rather than domination by a few advanced civilizations. The galaxy learned that diversity of thought and approach created strength rather than weakness, and that eliminating different perspectives led to stagnation and eventual defeat. Dr. Clark established the first interstellar university where young beings from dozens of different worlds learned human languages and tactical approaches alongside their own species' traditional knowledge. The combination of human creativity with alien technological capability created innovations that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen during the era of enforced conformity. The children who attended these schools represented the future that humanity had fought to create, a galaxy where intelligence was combined with compassion and where differences were celebrated rather than eliminated. The deadly signal that had once threatened human extinction had become the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation and growth.